in the quiet corners of the internet, where shadows stretch long and whispers of the unknown intertwine with the mundane, there exist tales that defy explanation. These are not mere campfire stories, nor are they the product of overactive imaginations. They are accounts, chillingly real, of lives irrevocably altered by an insidious presence, an unseen observer who lurks in the periphery, transforming affection into obsession and devotion into dread. This collection delves into 3 such narratives, each a testament to the terrifying reality of a Stalker-Ex, but with a twist that transcends the typical. Here, the horror isn't just in the pursuit, but in the chilling realization that some entities refuse to be bound by the laws of the living, or perhaps even the dead. The Digital Echo. Sarah, a bright and ambitious graphic designer, thought she had finally escaped the suffocating grip of Mark, her ex-boyfriend. Their relationship had ended acrimoniously, his possessiveness escalating into a disturbing fixation. After blocking him on every social media platform, changing her phone number, and even moving to a new city, Sarah believed she was safe. Her new apartment, a cozy space with large windows overlooking a bustling street, felt like a sanctuary. She thrived in her new job, made new friends, and slowly, the nightmares of Mark's controlling behavior began to fade. But the peace was short-lived. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. A forgotten photo on her old, rarely used social media account would suddenly have a new, anonymous like. A comment on an obscure forum she frequented, referencing an inside joke only she and Mark shared, would appear and then vanish. Sarah dismissed them as coincidences, remnants of her digital past resurfacing. She was, after all, a digital native, and the internet had a long memory. Then came the emails. Not from Mark's known addresses, but from a series of untraceable, encrypted accounts. They contained snippets of her daily life, details so precise they sent shivers down her spine. A description of the coffee she ordered that morning, the color of the dress she wore to work, even a verbatim quote from a private conversation she had with a friend over dinner. Panic began to set in. This wasn't just Mark. This was something far more sinister. He couldn't possibly know these things, not with the measures she had taken. One evening, as Sarah was working late on a design project, her computer screen flickered. A single pixelated image appeared, superimposed over her work. It was a grainy, distorted photograph of her own living room, taken from outside her window. In the bottom corner, barely visible, was a date and timestamp, just an hour ago. Sarah screamed, scrambling away from her desk, her heart pounding against her ribs. She called the police, but they found nothing. No forced entry, no hidden cameras, no trace of anyone. They suggested it might be a prank, or perhaps a lingering paranoia from her past relationship. But Sarah knew. This wasn't a prank. This was Mark, or what was left of him, haunting her through the very fabric of the digital world. She started noticing strange glitches in her smart home devices. Her lights would dim and brighten on their own. Her thermostat would crank up the heat in the middle of the night, and her smart speaker would occasionally play distorted whispers when no one was around. It was as if he had found a way to transcend the physical, to become a digital echo, a phantom in the machine. The final straw came when she received a package. It was a small, unassuming box with no return address. Inside, nestled on a bed of shredded paper, was her old, broken smartphone, the one she had smashed and discarded after their breakup. And on its cracked screen, a single glowing message: "You can't escape me, Sarah. Not even in death." Sarah fled. She abandoned her apartment, her job, her entire digital life. She moved to a remote cabin in the mountains, disconnected from the internet, living a life of analog simplicity. But even there, in the quiet solitude, she sometimes hears the faint hum of a server, or sees a fleeting shadow in the corner of her eye, a digital echo in a world that was supposed to be free of him. She knows he's still out there, or rather, in there, waiting, watching, a horrifying reminder that some connections, once forged, can never truly be broken, even by the grave. The uninvited guest. Emily had always been a creature of habit. Her life revolved around her meticulously organized apartment, her predictable work schedule, and her quiet evenings spent reading. After a tumultuous breakup with David, a man whose charm had slowly curdled into possessiveness, Emily found solace in routine. She changed her locks, installed a new security system, and avoided all places they used to frequent. She was determined to rebuild her life, brick by painstaking brick. Then, the subtle shifts began. A book on her shelf would be slightly out of place. A window she was certain she had locked would be ajar. A faint scent of his cologne would linger in her living room. Emily attributed it to her own forgetfulness, or perhaps the old building settling. She was, after all, still recovering from the trauma of the breakup, and her mind played tricks on her. But the incidents grew bolder. Her favorite mug, one she kept hidden in the back of her cupboard, would be found washed and placed neatly on the drying rack. Her laundry, left in the basket, would be folded and put away. A single rose, always a red one, would appear on her bedside table while she was at work. It was an invasion, a violation of her sanctuary. Yet there was no sign of forced entry, no alarms triggered. The police, when she finally called them, were sympathetic but helpless. They suggested a hidden key, or perhaps a friend playing a cruel joke. Emily began to feel a constant, chilling presence. She would wake up in the middle of the night, convinced she heard footsteps in her hallway, or the soft creak of her floorboards. She started sleeping with a knife under her pillow, her nerves frayed, her once peaceful home transformed into a cage. She installed hidden cameras, but they only showed her alone, moving through her apartment, a ghostly figure in her own life. One morning, she found a note on her kitchen counter. It was written in David's familiar, elegant script, but the words were chilling. "I miss our mornings, Emily. The way the sunlight catches your hair, the way you hum while you make coffee. I'm always here, even when you don't see me." Emily's blood ran cold. This wasn't just a stalker. This was someone who had been inside her home, watching her, observing her most intimate moments. But how? And why was there never any evidence? The answer came in a terrifying dream. She saw David, not as he was, but as a translucent, shimmering figure, phasing through her walls, a spectral presence in her apartment. He smiled, a knowing, malevolent grin, and whispered, "You can't lock out what's already inside." Emily woke up screaming, the dream so vivid, so real, it felt like a memory. She moved out that day, leaving everything behind. She couldn't bear to be in that apartment, knowing he was there, an uninvited guest, a spectral shadow clinging to her every move. She now lives in a small, anonymous town, constantly looking over her shoulder, forever haunted by the feeling that David, or his lingering essence, is still watching, a permanent fixture in the background of her life, a chilling reminder that some attachments refuse to be severed, even by the veil between worlds. The echo and the static. Liam, a budding musician, had always found solace in sound. His small recording studio, filled with instruments and mixing equipment, was his sanctuary. His breakup with Chloe, a fellow musician whose artistic passion had morphed into a destructive obsession, had left him creatively drained. He had cut all ties, changed his studio's access codes, and immersed himself in his music, hoping to drown out the echoes of her possessiveness. But the echoes persisted, not in his mind, but in his recordings. It began with subtle anomalies, a faint, almost imperceptible whisper in the background of a track, a distorted melody that wasn't part of his composition, a sudden burst of static that would corrupt an otherwise perfect take. Liam, a perfectionist, spent hours trying to isolate and eliminate these glitches, attributing them to faulty equipment or electromagnetic interference. Then, the anomalies became more pronounced. During playback, he would hear Chloe's voice, distorted and ethereal, singing along to his melodies or whispering his name. Sometimes, her laughter, cold and hollow, would erupt from his speakers, sending shivers down his spine. He checked his microphones, his cables, his software, but everything was in perfect working order. It was as if her presence was embedded in the very sound waves he was creating. One night, as he was mixing a new song, the lights in his studio flickered. The soundboard, usually a beacon of blinking lights, went dark. Then, slowly, the faders began to move on their own, rising and falling, creating a cacophony of discordant notes. On his computer screen, the audio waveform of his current track began to contort, forming a grotesque, almost human-like shape. And from his speakers, a chilling, guttural scream, unmistakably Chloe's, filled the room. Liam ripped out the power cords, his hands trembling. He knew then that this wasn't just a technical malfunction. This was Chloe, or her lingering spirit, haunting his creative space, her obsession manifesting as an auditory specter. He tried to cleanse his studio, burning sage, playing calming music, but the static remained, a constant hum in the background, a reminder of her presence. The final, terrifying incident occurred during a live stream. He was performing a new song, pouring his heart and soul into the music, when the audio began to cut in and out. His voice was replaced by a distorted, high-pitched wail, and the video feed flickered, showing brief, ghostly glimpses of Chloe's face, her eyes burning with an unholy light. The comments section exploded with terrified messages, his audience witnessing the horror unfold in real time. Liam abandoned his studio, his music, his passion. He now lives in silence, unable to bear the thought of creating sound, knowing that Chloe's echo might be waiting, lurking in the static, ready to corrupt his art and his sanity. He is a musician who can no longer create, a man haunted by the phantom melodies of a love turned toxic, a chilling testament to the fact that some obsessions, once formed, can transcend the boundaries of life and death, forever echoing in the silence.